Good morning friends, welcome back to Parnika tutorials. In the last video, I have discussed about one-dimensional array, how to declare a one-dimensional array, how to initialize the values in the one-dimensional array, or how to read the input from the user and store the values in the one-dimensional array, and how to compute the sum of all the elements which are stored in an array. All these things I have discussed in detail for you. I hope you have watched that video. If you did not watch that video, or if you don't know how to declare a one-dimensional array in Java, I sincerely request you to go back and watch that video and come back to this video. In this video, I want to discuss about multi-dimensional array like two-dimensional array and three-dimensional array. So I request everyone to watch the complete video for better understanding. First, let me discuss what is the need for a two-dimensional array. Suppose let's take that you want to store one student's marks. Suppose let's take that a student is there and he has written 6 subjects exams. Now for 6 subjects exams, you can create a one-dimensional array of size 6. If you want to store real numbers, because marks can be real numbers like 35.5, 38.6, like that people will get the marks. Okay, so you can create a float array of one dimension of size 6. But like this, if you want to maintain all the students, like let's take that in a class 60 students are there, okay, then for each student you want to store 6 subjects marks. Then what you are supposed to do, you need to create 60 one-dimensional arrays for each student, because you need one-dimensional array to store 6 subjects marks of a single student. Now you want to store 60 such students information, then you need to create 60 one-dimensional array. Instead of creating 60 one-dimensional arrays, you can create a two-dimensional array of 60 rows and 6 columns. 60 rows is for 60 students and 6 columns is for each student, each subject mark. Is it clear? Let's take that student 1, subject 1 mark, subject 2 marks, subject 3 marks, subject 4 marks, subject 5 marks, like this. And whatever the marks he has entered, you will store. Similarly, student 2, his marks. Student 3, his marks. So here each student represents one row and each column represents subject marks for each student. Like this column will tell you subject S1 marks for all the students. This column will tell you subject 2 marks of all the students. So here row represents the each student and column represents the each subject. So like that you can create a two-dimensional array instead of creating multiple single-dimensional arrays. Now let me discuss the syntax of creating a two-dimensional array. The same way, whatever the way you have done the one-dimensional, the same procedure you can apply. Like you can have a data type, okay, and then array name. As it is a two-dimensional array, in a single-dimensional array, you have provided a single one for the size. But you need to maintain two-dimensional. So the number of rows and number of columns you need to maintain. So this is your declaration. Then you can write array name is equal to new data type. You need to provide the number of rows and number of columns here. Row size or rows and then columns. Is it clear? So this is a syntax to declare one two-dimensional array. And you know that data type, you can provide whatever you want. Suppose let's take that I want to create an integer two-dimensional array. So what I will do, here I will write the data type as int and the array name, let me write it as a, and then I will have 2 braces, okay, and then I will write a is equal to new int. Let me create number of rows is 3 and number of columns is 3. Is it clear? So this is the way you can create, or you can write in a single line, int a of is equal to new int of 3 and 3. So you have created a two-dimensional array where the number of rows is 3 and number of columns is 3. So if you have number of rows as 3, look at here, you have the row number 0 because you know that always the index will start from 0. So row 0, row 1, row 2. This will be your column 1, column 0, column 1, column 2. Is it clear? We say that row number 1, row number 2, row number 3, but in the computer, you know that always it starts with 0. So it is row 0, row 1, row 2, column 0, column 1, column 2. Now you know that. Now you know that in array, everything will be represented in the form of index. So this will be, the element which is stored here will have an index 0, 0. It represents the row number and column number. And this will be 0, 1. This will be 0, 2. So the first one represents the row and the second one represents the column. And this will be 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. This will be 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2. So this is the way you will have the index. So first one will have the row number and second one will have the column number, because first you are giving the number of rows and next one you are giving the columns. So this is about the declaration of two-dimensional array and how the elements are stored actually. Let me discuss. How can you initialize the elements when you are declaring an array itself? Let me write int array name is A, and here I will write, okay, I will open the curly braces and then I will write the values in the row 0, row 1, row 2, like that you can write. Okay, now let's take that I'm writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, ends with. So you can write like this. See, this each curly braces represents the particular row. Okay, so how many rows are there? Row 1, row 2, row 3. And in each row, how many columns are there? Column 1, column 2, column 3. So this is nothing but the elements will be stored as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this value 1 is at the index 0, 0. This value 2 is at the index 0, 1, because you know that the row 0, row 1, row 2, here this will be column 0, column 1, column 2. So this will be at the index 0, 2. This is at the index 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. This is at the index 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2. So these things represents the indices and these one are the actual values. Okay, so if you want to access a particular element, then you can simply write system dot out dot println array name, which is A, and the row index. Suppose let's take that I want to display the value 5. Then the row is 1 and column is 1. So in this case, it will go to the row number 1 and then column number 1. What value is there? 5 is there. That will be displayed as an output. So this is the way you can initialize the elements in a two-dimensional array, and this is the way you can display the element which is there at the particular index. Now here, how many elements you can able to store? The number of elements will be equal to the row size into column size. In this example, how many rows are there? 3 rows are there. And how many columns are there? 3 columns. So totally you can store 9 elements. Okay, is it clear? Now if you want to display all the elements, you need to write the system.out.println 9 times. Okay, so instead of that, you can use the nested loops. Okay, because here you have 9 elements because the number of rows is 3 and number of columns is 3. Suppose let's take that you have the number of rows as 10 and number of columns is some 100. Then in this case, how many elements you can store? 1000 elements you can store. If you want to display this 1000 elements, then if you are not using any loops concept, if you simply use system.out.println and displaying each element individually, then you need to write system.out.println 1000 times, like 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, like that you need to write it. So instead of that one, what I will do is that I will write a program where you can read the input from the user and store it in the array, and then how to display back to the user. All these things I will discuss in the program. I will write here import java.io.star. So I am importing the Java module, and then I will write class array ex. Okay, the name of the file should be arrayex.java, and then I will write public static void main string aux throws exception. Then open the main, and then you can declare the variables, like I want to declare row comma column because I want to read the number of rows and number of columns from the user. If you want to read the input from the user, you need to use the two streams. One is input stream reader and then buffered reader. So I will write here input stream reader some s is equal to, so I am creating an object called s for the class called input stream reader. So new input stream reader, and you can write here system.in where s should be capital. Okay, here s should be capital and here I, s, r should be capital. And then I will write buffer reader some b is equal to new buffered reader, and you need to provide the object of the input stream reader class. Then I will ask the user to enter the number of rows. So system.out.println enter the number of rows. Okay, then whatever the user has entered, I want to store it in the variable called row, row is equal to integer dot parse int, where p should be lowercase and I should be capital letter, and this I should be also capital letter. You need to write b dot, where b is an object for the buffer reader class and read line is the method. Similarly, I want to ask the user to enter the number of columns. So system.out.println enter the number of columns. Then whatever the user has entered, I want to store it in the variable called column is equal to integer dot parse int, where p should be lowercase, I should be in capital letter, and then b dot read line. Okay, so you got the number of rows and number of columns. Then you can create a two-dimensional array with name a. Okay, new int, and here you can write the row and then column. So you have successfully created a two-dimensional array with the size, row size whatever the user has entered and column size what the user has entered. Now you want to read the each value from the user and store it in the two-dimensional array. So what you need to do, you need to create a two-dimensional array. Okay, you have already created the two-dimensional array. Now you need to use the nested loops concept. What is the need for the nested loops is because on each row all the columns you want to do. So you will have the one outer loop which will be traversing from the rows like row 0, row 1, row 2 like that, and you will have the inner loop which will be traversing on the columns like column 0, column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4 like that. So now first it will be on the row 0 and on all the columns, then on the row 1 on all the columns, then on the row 2 on all the columns. So you will be having at a particular row and you will going to the inner loop to traverse all the columns. Is it clear? So to do that one, what I will do is that I will declare two variables called I comma j. Okay, so I will write here for I is equal to 0, I less than row, I plus plus. Similarly, I will write for j is equal to 0, j less than column, j plus plus. So the outer loop, this is your outer loop, this is traversing on the rows, and you have the inner loop which is traversing on the columns. Then what I will ask the user to enter the value. Okay, so I will use the system.out.println. I will write system.out.println, enter the value, and I can simply write a of I of j is equal to, I can write here integer dot parse int, then I can write here, I hope it is visible for you. If not, let me write it here because it may not be visible for you. So I will write a of I of j is equal to integer dot parse int, you can write b dot read line. Okay, so user will enter one value and you will store in the corresponding row and the corresponding columns. So you will close the inner loop and you will close the outer loop. So these lines of code will be useful for you to read each value from the user and store it in the two-dimensional array. If you want to display all the elements which are there in the two-dimensional array, then again you will use the nested loops. One is on the rows and another one is on the columns. Let me show that one also for you. If you want to display, or you can write here system.out.println, the elements in the array are, the elements in an array are. Okay, then you can write for I is equal to 0, I less than row, I plus plus. Similarly, for j is equal to 0, j less than column, j plus plus. Then you can write system.out.println, a of I of j. Okay, you can close the inner loop, you can close the outer loop. So this is the way you can display all the elements which are there in the two-dimensional array. Then you can close the main function, you can close the class called array_ex. I hope you have understood how to declare a two-dimensional array and how to read the input from the user and store the values in the two-dimensional array, and how to display the elements which are there in the two-dimensional array. For better understanding, I will execute this program and show the output for you all. Now let me write import java.io.star, then I will write class array_ex, then file name should be array_ex.java. Now I will write public static void main string args, then I have to write throws exception. Let me open the main function I will write input stream reader I is equal to new input stream reader. So what you are doing, you are creating an object I for the input stream reader, and you need to connect this input stream reader to the system.in. So that's why in braces you are giving system.in. Similarly, I want to create an object for the buffered reader. So buffered reader B is equal to new buffered reader I. Now what I will do, I will declare the variables whatever I will use. Int row column j comma k till now. Then what I will ask the user to enter the number of rows. So system.out.println, enter the number of rows in the array. Enter the number of rows in an array. Then what I will do, I will store that value in the variable called row. So integer dot parse int b dot read line. Now I'll ask the user to enter the number of columns in the array. So system.out.println, enter the number of columns. Okay, whatever the columns user has entered, I want to store it in the variable called column. So I will write integer dot parse int b dot read line. Then what I want to do, I want to declare a two-dimensional array of data type int, and the name is a. I will write int, which is a data type, a two-dimensional array. So I am opening the two braces, then new int the row column. So the number of rows the user has entered will be the number of rows in the two-dimensional array, and the number of columns user has entered will be the size of the columns. Now what I will do, I will ask the user to enter the value, and I want to store it in the two-dimensional array. So to do that one, we need to use the nested loops. One from j is equal to 0, j less than row, j plus plus. So one, our outer loop is traversing on the rows, and I want the inner loops traversing on the columns. So from k is equal to 0, k less than column, k plus plus. Now what I will ask the user, I will ask the user to enter the value. System.out.println, enter the value. Whatever the value user has entered, I want to store it in the array a at the index j comma k. So whatever the value user has entered, I want to store at the jth row, kth column. So I will write a of j of k is equal to integer dot parse int, then I will write b dot read line. Okay, let me close the inner loop, let me close the outer loop. So each value user has entered, and we have stored it in the two-dimensional array. Now I want to display the values in the array back to the user. So I will write system.out.println, the elements in the array are. Okay, now I need to use the nested loop. So for j is equal to 0, j less than row, j plus plus. For k is equal to 0, k less than column, k plus plus. Now I want to display, so I will write system.out.print, because I want to display in the form of matrix. So I will write a of j of k, okay, then concatenation with some tab space. So I will write \t here, which is a backspace character, or I can say escape character. After that, I want to write system.out.println empty one, because after printing each row, I want to go to the new line. So let me close the outer loop also. Let me close the main function. Let me close the class. And now I want to compile the program. So I will go to the command prompt. First, where the programs are saved. The programs are saved in the Java programs, which is there in the desktop. So I have written cd desktop, cd Java programs. Now I want to compile the Java program. So I will write java c array ex dot java. As there are no errors, so let me run the program by giving the command called java array ex. Now the number of rows, let me enter the number of rows as 2, number of columns 2. So you can able to store 4 elements in the array A. Let me enter the value 1, value 2, value 3, value 4. See, we are getting the output as the elements in the array are 1, 2, 3, 4. So you are getting in the form of a matrix. Now let me clear the screen. Okay. And let me run the program again. This time I will give the number of rows as 3, number of columns as 4. So we can able to store 12 elements. So let me write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. See, we got the output as the elements in the array are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it is a two-dimensional array of size 3 cross 4 because you have 3 rows and 4 columns. I hope it is clear for you. Now let me discuss about the three-dimensional array. First, let me discuss what is the motive behind using the three-dimensional array. Suppose let's take that why we started using the two-dimensional array, because if I want to store one student marks, student 1 is there, he has written 6 subjects. If I want to store his marks, then I need to create one-dimensional array of size 6. But let's take that in a class of 100 students, then I need to create 100 one-dimensional arrays. Instead of creating 100 one-dimensional arrays, we have created a one two-dimensional array. Similarly, let's take that you are teaching Java course for multiple sections. Let's take that section A is there, okay, and section B is there, and section C is there, okay. In section A, 100 students are there. In section B, some 80 students are there. In section C, 90 students are there. Now, to maintain each section student, you need to create one two-dimensional array. Suppose let's take the Java quiz 1 exams, quiz 2 exams, assignment marks, end semester how many marks he got. So each student I want to maintain all the record. Then I need to create 100 rows, and let's take that I want to store 5 values like what is his mid 1 marks, mid 2 marks, assignment marks, project marks, and end semester mark. So then I need to create one two-dimensional array of size 100 cross 5. Okay, similarly here I need to create another two-dimensional array of 80 cross 5. Here I need to create another two-dimensional array of size 90 cross 5, where 100 represents the number of rows and 5 represents the number of columns. Now, instead of maintaining 3 two-dimensional arrays, I can have one three-dimensional array. Is it clear? Because if you want to maintain all the students of all the sections Java marks, now if you want to maintain individually, then you need to have one two-dimensional array for section A, one two-dimensional array for section B, one two-dimensional array for section C. Okay, so you are maintaining 3 two-dimensional arrays. Instead of maintaining 3 two-dimensional arrays, you can do the task with the help of one three-dimensional array. So how can you declare a one three-dimensional array? Is it clear? Let me write the syntax in a single line. I want to store the data type as a int. So I want to store the integer constants, and I need to represent the 3 braces here. The array name and 3 braces, because three-dimensional array. Okay. Then you can write new data type. Okay. And then you can represent number of two-dimensional arrays. Okay, how many two-dimensional arrays you want? Here the three-dimensional arrays you want 3. And how many rows you want? Let's say that you want 100 rows. or 100 plus 80 is 180. Okay, you can write number of rows is 100 because maximum of this one you can take, and number of columns is 5. So you are having three two-dimensional arrays of size 100 cross 5. Okay, so this is the way you can create the three-dimensional array. Similarly, you can go for four-dimensional, five-dimensional, like this. Now if you want to look at the indices, then you need to have three parameters. One is the which two-dimensional array, and then what is the row size, and what is the column. Is it clear? So here you will have three parameters, which two-dimensional array it is, okay, and like you have x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. Okay, here it is which two-dimensional array it is, and then what is the row number and what is the column number. Now if you want to store the values in the three-dimensional array, and if you want to display the elements which are there in the three-dimensional array, then you can go for the nested loops concept. How you can go for the nested loop concept? You can use the three loops. Okay, suppose let's take that here you can have for loop for I is equal to 0, I less than 3, I plus plus. Then I can write for j is equal to 0, j less than 100, j plus plus. Then for some k is equal to 0, k less than 5, k plus plus. Then here you can write system.out.println, system.out.println. You can write a of I of j of k. Okay, you can close the three loops. So this is the way you can display the elements which are there in the three-dimensional array. I hope it is clear for you.